Hello everybody and welcome back to yet another episode of P.I.P, People in Property. Now guys, we've got lots of guests lined up for you, but today we've had some great special guests. And what I'd like to introduce today is Ethan. Ethan is actually a 24-year-old young man in the property industry who's been doing some flips. He actually was studying chemistry at university. Then he was doing a grad scheme in the finance sector. And whilst he was doing that, he was also self-educating in property. Whilst doing that, he did his first flip, saw the taste for money, and left the grad scheme. Ethan, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. So obviously, I gave everyone a brief synopsis of what you sort of did, but can you delve into your sort of journey as such, and when you first started to learn and self-learn about property?
Yeah, that was a really good overview. But essentially, yes, I was at university. I was an undergrad studying chemistry for 3 years. And it wasn't until my second year is when I sort of picked up my first book for property. I always knew I wanted to go into property industry. I always knew like this was the side that this was one of my end goal that I wanted to reach. So second year, picked up my first book, read my first book and just literally got addicted to it, luckily. So it was just podcasts, books, YouTube videos, like every single day. Live, eat and breathe in property whilst, studying the whole chemistry degree, which was tough.
I was going to say, that's a bit difficult, yes?
Yeah, no, like literally it was tough. I'd finished my revision and then first thing I did, all the chill time or downtime I got was just watch YouTube videos on property. Yeah. So did that. Then when I graduated in 2020 is when I joined Alpha Jade's mastermind group. So then for me at that stage, it was more so of a thing of surrounding myself with people that are in property and are actively doing deals and just being able to, use a blueprint and follow that. So I joined that group. That's whilst I started my grad scheme. Mm-hmm. Then during that period of time, it's not much long after, like 6 to 8 months later, Ray found my first JV partner, did a deal, and then started documenting the whole process. And through that, just building a personal brand around that. And then, since then, that was 2021. So now 2023, I've been able to raise just under £500,000, amass a GDV of 1.4 million.
Fabulous.
And seriously ongoing, basically.
Right. So for people that don't know what a JV is, that means joint venture. It's when you come together with somebody else and do a deal. So you're sort of essentially, from what I understand, maybe did you bring the knowledge side of the side of business and then they sort of put some money in?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So my value point was literally all the knowledge that I had accumulated across the years was, being in property, networking events, and they inputted the finance into that. And
Now, what would you say? Obviously, property deals are not few and far between, but they're not, again, easy to come by. How would you say you sort of injected yourself to find the first deal? Was it through the relationship that you had built? Was you like literally going to view 10, 15 properties and then you found the one? Or how would you say you sort of got yourself into finding that first deal?
It's funny because you would think that, but it didn't happen like that. So essentially, my first property deal was actually up north. And it kind of all aligned quite smoothly, weirdly enough. But prior to that, it was literally, I was every weekend going up to Coventry, trying to find deals, doing loads of viewings, building different relationships. And I actually didn't find anything that way. I actually found a deal off Rightmove, kind of putting an offer on the day, on the phone sort of thing.
Without viewing?
Without viewing.
Okay.
But then...
Very ballsy move.
Yeah, very ballsy move. But you know what? I think in a way where I was just trying to be as working smart as possible because I knew at that point, if your offer is accepted, you're not actually legally binding.
You can pull out.
You can pull out. Yeah. And although it may, ruin the relationship a bit with the agent.
Be very popular with that.
Yeah, it's going to be very popular with the agent. But if you've got a good excuse to be able to come out the deal, then it's not your problem. It's not your fault.
No.
So for me, it was like, do I make the travel all the way up there for it not to work? Because that's what I was doing. I was going up there, putting in offers. It's not even working for me.
Wasting your time, wasting your full, wasting your energy.
Literally all that time, all that money was being wasted. So I was like, okay, cool. I need to change strategy here. Let's, put an offer in there, go up there and kind of just kill all the stones at once, basically. Get there. And I met the builders there, got quotes up there. And through that, just kind of smoothly transitioned into getting the offer accepted, getting a build team in there and just working for how long was the first build? I think it was around 6 weeks.
Okay.
And fully project managed. It was fully off-hand sort of things on that side.
So you hired a project manager to deal with it.
Yeah. So they had an in-house project manager.
A building firm?
Yeah. And then I went up there like a few times during the build. And yeah, since then it's been quite, I self-manage it actually. So it's like a mini mo. Yeah. But then since then I've based in South London. I've been strictly South London from now on.
Okay. So what made you that's one of my questions actually. What made you want to invest up north?
Literally barrier to access. Like barrier to entry is very low going up north, and access to capital that I had around me. So it was around like £80,000, and
is that including the build cost? That you had 80k to spend?
Yeah. So literally it was as cheap as the purchase price was 48k to be precise. Yeah. And then
really cheap. Cheap as chips.
Literally cheap as chips. And then the refurb was like 22k.
Brilliant.
So with that,
you stayed under budget by the sounds of things.
Yeah, but like, that was how much I knew we had available to us. But I was just trying to get in, get out with just cheap as possible. So it was more of a barrier to access. Was able to get that done, and then through that I just documented everything, and then I said, you know what, I want to stay down south. Yeah. Because the reason why I was going up north was more so just barrier to entry, and I wasn't actually solving my problem, because my problem was access to capital. Okay. Through documenting everything, I was creating a personal brand. I was essentially getting more access to capital, because you're attracting investors. And then through that I was like, yeah, I'm here to stay in South London. And that's when I started building my portfolio in South London.
Okay, so basically you allowed yourself to basically step out your comfort zone, go up north with the money that you had around you. Built your brand, as you say, and now you've been building and using OPM to do your strategy down south. Now, with your JVs, do you give them a direct return for their money, or do you do the angle where they're actually a partner with you and they own a percentage of the property? How do you work your JV?
So like the way I structure all my deals now is on a fixed return basis. Yep. So with all the capital that I've raised, it's been on a fixed return, and I'm building relationships with investors where they're getting a passive return across like a 6 to 12 month period, and they're getting a good fixed return. And in that case, it is mutually beneficial in the sense where their money is in the bank collecting dust, doing that, depreciating essentially. So I'm positioning myself as a person that is solving your problem and being able to help you achieve interest rates that are gonna beat inflation, and essentially get passive income and do something nice with it. I always say to people, if you was to invest £20,000 and get 10% back, that £2,000 that you can get, you can go take yourself on a nice holiday. Yeah. And you don't have to think about, putting the extra hours in at work to, afford a nice holiday. You're just letting your money work harder than you, because the money's always...
You'll do the work for them.
Exactly. And I'm doing all the work for them. And, it's just building a brand that people can trust and give you your money. And I've been able to achieve that in the last 2 years.
Brilliant. So that sounds like you'll become very successful very quickly, which is very good. And what would you say has been the biggest struggle for you along your journey in the property side of things?
I think being able to build your brand to a point where people trust you with your money, because obviously, I'm very young in the game. So it's being able to, convince people that I know what I'm doing, and I'm surrounded by people that have gone through it before me. And so any problems that I want to overcome, I've got a network that can overcome those things. And also another thing is maybe dealing with agents as well sometimes, like them not taking you seriously enough.
Because you're young?
Because I'm young, literally just because I'm young. So it's being able to put on a front that, I'm very much confident, I know what I'm doing, and being able to secure deals like that.
Okay, nice. So your one up north sounded like was it a house that you bought?
Yeah.
Are you doing the same thing down south? Are you buying houses, and are you sort of doing the BRRR route, or what strategy are you using down south now? Or are you buying and then you just flipping and selling it on a brick, pulling out all the cash? What strategy are you using?
Yeah, so it's been a bit of a mix. So like I've flipped a couple down south where, bought a 1-bedroom flat, reconfigured it into a 2-bedroom, and then, flipped it, like pulling out all my equity to move on to another project. So I've done that a couple times.
When you say pulling like equity, so you're retaining it, you're just refinancing it and then going again?
Yeah, no, I mean, just literally offloading it, so selling it. And then I'm also like executing the BRRR. So I bought like a block of 3 flats where I've got an enfranchisement claim for the freehold as well, because it's got land at the back. So I've done a full refurb on that, and I'm actually just refinance all of them, pulling my equity out to be able to, do an extension at the back of the land.
Adding further value, basically.
Adding further value, yeah, exactly.
Nice. And what's your preferred? Because obviously some people have different thoughts. Some of you like to retain and have cash flow coming from like rental side. Some people say, you know what, actually my end goal is I want to buy blocks of flats, like, excuse me, I've usually bought the block of 3. But you might want to say, but I want to buy a Victorian house, chop it up myself, and make it into 4 or 5 units. What is your that you're looking to do?
Yeah, it's funny because I think coming into this, my when I started doing it down south and started buying properties down south, my main aim was I want £100,000 in my account. I want £1 million. I want to get to $1 million. But then through doing the first flip, doing the second flip, then you realize cash flow is such a big thing.
It's very important.
Like cash flow drives the business. I remember going through refurbs and coming into cash flow problems where things were slow, things is taking long, and property is a slow game, essentially. So I had to, unlearn the whole thing of I want £1 million in my account, and rather now I'm like, I just want access to £1 million in my account, but I just want the cash flow coming in.
Correct.
So moving forward, I definitely am a person that believes in refinancing. Because number one, no taxes as well like that. You don't have a tax liability. Capital gains. So there's no tax liability on a refinance. So moving forward, just doing my refinance now, I'm confident to go forward. I'm refinance is the way forward, and I'm getting good cash flow every month. And that cash flow has been able to support the business because when you're scaling at such a fast pace, it's money comes in as quick as it goes out.
Definitely, especially with bill costs as well. I don't know if you've noticed, but since you might have done one in North, bill costs have gone up quite a lot.
Yeah,
materials, labour.
Literally shooting every day. You can get quotes last month and it won't be the same quote that you're getting today. And that's because of loads of things material, labour and capacity as well, because everyone's doing projects at the moment. So there's so many reasons.
So do you see yourself staying invested in South London, or do you see yourself expanding in area-wise, or going overseas, or what's your end goal was to have £1 million, and now you want the cash flow, but what is, I don't want to see your end goal, what you want to see at the banks, but what is your end goal that you're looking to achieve out of this? Because at the moment you're still JV in the sense of you're still using other people's money. So obviously you're going to try to build a pot, keep going. Do you see yourself using OPM for the whole journey through the property, or are you looking to build your own pot and then use your own money, or what are you looking to achieve long term?
It will always be other people's money. It will always be. I think how I see it is if you do want to scale on property, your resources are always going to be finite, right? So you always want access to the larger capital there. So whether it's other people's money or larger institutions or banks or lenders like that, where when I'm building on a big scale, I'm always going to be raising finance. So raising finance is a skill that I see very long term, and even moving into other business ventures, you're always going to want to be raising finance. So I'm not, I don't have a goal of being able to have my own pot to go again. Obviously that's nice, and there will be some deals that may not have enough margin in it for you to use other people's money, whereby you just use your own pot to do that. But it will always be a form of raising finance, raising equity, maybe in equity. But moving forward, it'll always be raising finance, because that's the fastest and best way to scale. Using raising finance.
You mentioned other business and stuff. Do you have other ideas in your head of other things that you want to do besides property?
There's so many things that I always say I want to go into, even buying businesses, growing businesses, going into different avenues. There's so many different avenues.
Is that within property or outside of property?
Outside of property, I think about hospitality, I think about fashion, I think about loads of different things where, I just want to be at a point where anything that interests me at that time, I want to be able to execute it.
So you want to have the options to be able to do what you want to do.
Exactly. And that is being able to build a foundation big enough within property to be able to do that.
Brilliant. Sounds really good. Well, look, you've literally hit the nail on the head with everything. You've kept it nice, concise, straight to the point, and you nailed everything. Now, obviously, for the youngsters that are out there, you're sort of like a lead example, really, because a lot of people around your kind of age group are not doing these kind of things. And they're sort of maybe out there just spending every dime that they earn, and sort of spunking up with all we have to say. So you're doing a really good thing. You're moving in the right direction. And look, thank you very much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure to have you. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. You always want to be kept up to date with the future episodes that we've got. I look forward to seeing you on the next one.